Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. And today we are going to be taking a look at something that I think is pretty important in our increasingly globalized world, and that is certified translations.
Okay.
So we have some information from a company called Notting Hill Tenerife, and it's based in Spain, in Tenerife, and they actually deal with this topic like on a daily basis.
Right.
And I don't know about you, but it's something that I really hadn't given too much thought to until recently. You know, we live in a world where documents need to, cross borders all the time for school, for business.
Exactly.
Legal reasons, even personal reasons, like all sorts of things.
It really is amazing how often this comes up, and a lot of people don't even realize it until they need it. Right.
Wow.
They need a document to be officially recognized in another country, and suddenly it's like, wait, what do I do?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's where a company like Notting Hill Tenerife comes in. And they offer all sorts of services that sort of help people navigate this whole world of, making documents legitimate in different countries.
Yeah.
One of the first things that jumped out at me, and I have to admit, I didn't even really know this was a thing, was this term sworn translation.
Yeah.
So what exactly is that, and how is it different from just, going online and getting something translated?
So a regular translation, that's fine if you want to understand a menu or a website. But when it comes to official things like legal documents, you need something that carries, legal weight.
Okay.
And that's where the sworn translation comes in. So in Spain, these translations are carried out by officially appointed translators, people that have been vetted by the Spanish Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Oh, wow.
So they're basically giving their stamp of approval.
So it's kind of like a notary, but for translations?
Exactly.
Interesting.
Their signature and their seal and their certification are what make the translation legally binding, not just in Spain, but in many other countries.
Okay, that makes sense. And I noticed Notting Hill Tenerife said that they work with a ton of languages.
A lot.
Over 75, I think.
That's right.
It was in the information. So
it just shows you how global this need is.
Right.
And they handle everything you can imagine, common languages like English and French, of course, but also less common ones like Vietnamese and Urdu.
Ooh, wow.
They even work with some ancient languages.
Really?
So yeah, it's quite a range.
That's fascinating. I mean, so they're not just translating basic document. They're doing all sorts of stuff.
All kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Economic documents, legal documents, administrative paperwork, even scientific and technical texts.
They even mentioned ancient patents.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, what would that even be like?
Well, just imagine you're researching, some historical invention and you come across a patent from like the 17th century.
Okay.
Written in, say, Italian or something.
Right.
To understand it and to be able to use it, you need a specialist like Notting Hill Tenerife to translate it and make it accessible.
That's so cool. So it's like they're bridging a gap not only between languages, but also between time periods.
Exactly. It's really fascinating work.
Yeah.
Making information accessible across cultures and across centuries.
Okay, so let's say you need a document to be valid in a country that doesn't speak one of those 75 languages that they work with.
Right.
What happens then?
Well, that's where the Apostille of the Hague comes in.
Okay.
It's basically an internationally recognized form of authentication. So it's like a stamp of approval that says, yes, this document is legitimate. It verifies where it came from.
Oh, okay. So it's like giving it an international birth certificate.
Exactly. And it's accepted in over 100 countries around the world.
Wow. So it really simplifies things for everyone involved.
It does. And Notting Hill Tenerife, they can handle the whole apostille process for you.
Really?
Yeah. They take care of all the paperwork. They get the apostille, and they'll even send the document right to your doorstep.
So they handle all the logistics.
Exactly.
Wow, that's super convenient.
And for countries that haven't signed the Hague Convention, they can also handle document legalization through their consular channels.
So no matter where you need your document to be recognized, they've got a solution.
Precisely.
That's pretty impressive. I mean, that seems like it would be a logistical nightmare to manage all that.
Absolutely. But that's where their experience comes in. They've been doing this for over 20 years.
Oh, wow.
So they really know the ins and outs of all these procedures.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And they can save you a lot of time and stress.
And probably a lot of headaches.
Definitely.
So they really emphasize their commitment to quality and speed and confidentiality.
Yes.
Which, seems pretty crucial in this line of work.
Absolutely.
But one thing that really stood out to me was this lifetime guarantee that they offer on their translations.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not something you see every day.
It's not common, but it shows how much they stand behind their work
I mean, is it really necessary, though? What are the chances that someone's going to need to, like, go back and revisit a translation years later?
Well, it might seem unusual, but it really speaks volumes about their confidence in what they do. They're basically saying, we're so sure of our work that we're willing to stand behind it forever.
So they're not just churning out translations.
No.
They're really investing in their clients.
Absolutely. It's about building lasting relationships.
I wonder if they have, like, a giant vault somewhere
Maybe.
with all their translations perfectly archived just in case.
That would be something.
Right. But they offer more than just translations, don't they?
Do they offer a whole range of services related to international documents?
Like what kind of stuff?
Well, things like migration and consular advice,
Okay.
help with visas and passport procedures, even assistance with Spanish nationality applications.
Oh, wow. So it's like they're a one-stop shop for all your international document needs?
You could say that they're like a guide through the bureaucratic jungle.
That's a good analogy.
And they offer personalized attention, too, with in-person meetings at their office or consultations by email and phone.
Okay, so they're making it as easy as possible for people to access these services.
Exactly.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, from the specifics of sworn translations to the apostille and all the other things that they offer.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
I'm starting to see just how valuable a company like Notting Hill Tenerife can be for anyone who has to deal with international documents. But what really struck you as the most important thing about their services?
Honestly, it keeps coming back to that lifetime guarantee.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful statement, and it shows their dedication not just to quality, but to building long-term relationships with their clients.
In a world where everything seems to be about quick transactions and,
Right.
moving on to the next thing, it's refreshing to see a company that's really taking a longer view.
Absolutely. I think that sets them apart.
Yeah, it definitely makes them stand out. And
Right.
it gives their clients peace of mind knowing they're in good hands.
Sure.
Yeah, it really is a good point. Knowing that you can rely on their expertise even years down the line is a big deal. But Notting Hill Tenerife's document mentioned all sorts of documents that they handle for sworn translations.
Yeah.
Everything: birth certificates, marriage certificates, death certificates, academic transcripts, contracts, even court rulings. It's mind-boggling how many different situations require this kind of official translation.
It makes you realize how much globalization really touches our lives, even in areas you wouldn't expect, like inheritance cases.
Oh, yeah.
Think about it. If someone passes away and their assets are spread across multiple countries,
Okay.
you might need sworn translations of wills and property deeds and all sorts of legal documents for the probate court.
That's something most people wouldn't even think about until they're actually in that situation.
Exactly.
And it's not just about the past either. It's also about people planning for their future. Yeah. Like those who are applying for residency in Spain or looking for work or study opportunities abroad. It's like Notting Hill Tenerife is helping people open doors to these new chapters in their lives.
Absolutely. And they even mentioned translating documents for people applying for Spanish nationality, which can be a really complex process.
Yeah.
It just highlights how crucial these services are for people who are trying to, achieve their goals and build a life in another country.
Yeah, it's true. And speaking of adapting to different needs, they even mentioned translating COVID-19 vaccination certificates.
Oh, wow.
Which just goes to show they're really staying current and providing services that are relevant to today's world.
Yeah.
Who would have thought a few years ago that we'd need official translations of our vaccination records to travel or work in certain places?
It's a perfect example of how they're evolving with the times, anticipating the needs of their clients in a world that's constantly changing.
Mm-hmm. But it's not just human expertise they're relying on. They also mentioned using cutting-edge technology alongside their sworn translators.
Oh, that's interesting. How does that work?
Yeah, I was wondering about that too. It seems like they're combining the precision and nuance of human translation with the efficiency and speed of technology.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a really smart approach.
It does, but how do they ensure the quality stays high with this mix of human and machine?
Right.
It seems like a tough balancing act.
Yeah, it is. But I think the way they do it is technology handles those large volumes of text.
Mm-hmm.
Like identifying patterns, suggesting word choices, but then a sworn translator reviews everything, ensures accuracy, refines the language to make sure it captures all those subtle nuances and legal implications of the original document.
So it's not about replacing human translators.
No.
It's more about giving them the tools to be even more efficient and effective.
Exactly. And it makes a lot of sense when you think about the sheer volume and complexity of the documents they're dealing with.
Absolutely. And let's not forget their commitment to confidentiality,
Right.
which they really emphasize throughout their information.
Yeah, in this digital age with data breaches becoming so common, that's a huge factor for anyone dealing with sensitive personal or legal information.
They even mention requesting appointments for in-person meetings to ensure privacy.
Yeah, it's clear that they're taking data protection very seriously.
Absolutely. So on a practical level, how does someone actually go about working with Notting Hill Tenerife?
Well, their document outlines a pretty straightforward process. You can request a quote by sending your documents through email or WhatsApp, or you can just give them a call. They also welcome visits to their office in Tenerife, but they really stress that appointments are necessary to make sure they can give each client that personalized attention.
I like that they value that personal touch right from the start.
Yeah, it definitely shows they're invested in understanding their clients' needs, but once they have the documents, what's next?
So they analyze the documents, figure out the costs and how long it's going to take based on, things like the length and complexity, and then they give the client a quote.
Okay.
If the client agrees, then the translation process begins. And once it's done, the final translated document can be picked up in person or sent directly to the client or even provided in digital format.
Well, that's good. So they offer a few different options.
Yeah, whatever's most convenient for the client.
So out of all the information we've covered, what really stood out to you the most about Notting Hill Tenerife?
I think for me, it's that lifetime guarantee. It's just such a unique feature, and it really speaks volumes about their dedication to quality and client relationships.
I agree.
In a world where so many companies are focused on quick transactions, Notting Hill Tenerife seems to be taking a much longer view,
Yeah, it's like they're building trust and providing peace of mind.
Exactly.
Which is so important.
Absolutely. It sets them apart.
But let's shift gears a little bit and think about the bigger picture. We live in a time of really rapid technological advancements.
We do.
So how do you think things like artificial intelligence and blockchain technology are going to impact the world of translation and document authentication in the future?
Wow, that's a fascinating question.
Right.
Imagine a world where AI handles the initial translation process, making it faster and more accessible than ever before.
Right.
And then picture blockchain technology being used to create tamper-proof, digitally verifiable documents that can be instantly authenticated anywhere in the world.
It's mind-blowing to think about what implications that could have for individuals, businesses, even governments.
It really is. AI could potentially reduce the time and cost of translation drastically, which could make those services accessible to a much wider audience.
Right.
And then blockchain could revolutionize document security.
Yeah.
Imagine eliminating the need for traditional notarization and apostilles by creating a permanent verifiable record of authenticity.
It sounds like something out of science fiction, but these technologies are developing so quickly.
It's true.
It's exciting to think about the possibilities, but it also raises some questions like, how are human translators going to adapt to the rise of AI?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And what are the potential risks and challenges of relying on these technologies for such crucial processes?
Well, it's likely that the role of human translators is going to evolve.
Yeah.
Focusing more on quality control and nuance and those specialized translation tasks that really require cultural understanding and sensitivity.
Right.
And while blockchain offers incredible potential for security, we need to think carefully about its implementation and make sure we address concerns about data privacy and access.
It's a reminder that technological advancements always come with benefits and challenges.
Absolutely.
So as we navigate this ever-changing landscape, it's crucial to approach these innovations with a critical eye.
Absolutely.
Balancing the potential for progress with the need for ethical considerations and human oversight.
Right.
But let's bring this back to our listener for a moment. What key takeaway can they get from all of this?
I think the most important thing is that whether you're a student, an entrepreneur, or just someone who needs a document to be recognized abroad, understanding sworn translations and document legalization is really crucial. It's a process that can seem daunting at first, but with the right knowledge and support, it doesn't have to be overwhelming.
And as we've seen, companies like Notting Hill Tenerife can guide you through every step of the way, ensuring your documents are handled with expertise, care, and confidentiality.
They really are a great example of how specialized services can help individuals and businesses navigate this increasingly complex world of international documents.
It's reassuring to know that even as the world becomes more and more automated,
Right.
there are still companies out there prioritizing the human touch and building trust with their clients.
It's so important.
But it's not just about finding the right company, it's also about being informed and proactive.
Right.
So for our listener, I want to pose a question.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been in a situation where you needed a sworn translation or had to deal with international document legalization?
Mm.
What challenges do you face?
Yeah.
And what did you learn from that experience?
Yeah, it's a good question to think about. And as globalization, keeps going, these kinds of situations are probably just going to become more and more common.
Exactly.
Whether it's for, school or work or travel or even personal stuff, understanding these processes can really save you a lot of headaches down the road.
It's true. And even if you haven't run into this kind of situation yet, it's worth thinking about how it could affect your plans in the future. Like, are you thinking about studying abroad, maybe expanding your business internationally, or even relocating to another country?
Right.
These are all situations where knowing about sworn translations and document legalization becomes super important.
It's all about being prepared.
Exactly.
And preparation starts with knowledge. So knowing what documents you might need, understanding the processes, and being aware of the resources that are out there can make a huge difference.
It's like having a roadmap to help you navigate all the complicated ins and outs of international bureaucracy.
That's a good way to put it.
And with companies like Notting Hill Tenerife offering all those services and that lifetime guarantee, it's like you have a guide every step of the way.
Absolutely. You don't have to figure it all out on your own. There are experts who can help you understand all those details of sworn translations and apostilles and consular legalization, and they can make the whole process so much smoother.
So to wrap things up, I want to encourage our listeners to take what we've talked about today and think about how it applies to your own lives and your goals. Think about what you want to achieve in the next 5 or 10 years and what steps you can take right now to make sure you're ready for any of those document-related challenges that might pop up along the way.
Being proactive and informed is key. The world's becoming more and more interconnected.
That's for sure.
And as we move across borders, both physically and digitally, the need for accurate and legally recognized documents is only going to increase.
It's a good reminder that even in our digital world, the power of language and official documentation hasn't gone away.
Not at all.
There's still the keys to unlocking opportunities and connecting different cultures and helping us navigate this complex globalized world we live in.
Well said. So, as we finish up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought. Embrace the opportunities that globalization offers. Explore new horizons and go after your dreams. But remember, a little preparation and knowledge can go a long way.
That's great advice. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive. Hope you found it helpful and informative. Remember to stay curious, stay informed, and keep exploring the world around you. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
For further information, please contact +34 646 731 609. Thank you.